Welcome to Galactic Grandmother Heart to Heart. My name is April, and my special returning guest today is Eric Raines. I refer to Eric as a energy healer extraordinaire. And the wonderful thing is that now he's a teacher of these profound energy techniques that he's learned through trial and error, which he's going to go into today. Please check out his website, Unleashing Natural Humanity. He has all of his online teaching and lots of different things that you can do on his website. It's a wonderful resource. So I would definitely recommend that. And welcome back, Eric. I'm so glad you're taking the time to be with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. I had a great time last time.
Well, good, good. Always love it when you laugh because then your dimples show up.
Oh,
Uh,
shucks.
I was watching a really good interview that you did about 3 months ago, and it just brought up a lot of questions where you could go deeper for us. But first of all, how did you come up with Unleashing Natural Humanity? There must be a story
Okay.
behind that.
Oh, there definitely is. Okay, so what I consider a natural human is vastly different than what we experience as humanity today. Like we have like mythology about what a natural human is, like when gods used to walk the earth. Like I don't think that, quote, gods are something that is this unique anathema to existence. I think that that is what we can eventually grow into. And with the interference that we have in this day and age on not just the physical levels with the environmental, sociological, chemical, everything that's happening that's causing humankind to be dumbed down and minimized in their capacity, but also the energetic interference. And that actually is where I started to come into contact with all of these different things that when I would take these etheric constructs out of people, suddenly they would have this massive burst of energy and their thoughts would go completely silent and then they wouldn't have trauma anymore. And so like that was when I saw all of this and I recognized like, hey, so the natural human is godlike. It's truly godlike. It's deeply psychic. It's deeply connected to the environment, to the collective consciousness and to the universe. And that's not what we have. It's like we've been leashed. So here we are unleashing natural humanity.
And you have talked about the human DNA potential. And this seems to go along with the unleashing natural humanity, going into innate potential.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, when it comes down to it, we have all of the framework there for things that we consider impossible in this physical reality, what we would consider miracles. Like the human body is what Tesla modeled the Tesla coil off of. You've got the open ball up top, you've got the transformer in the middle, and then you have the coils down below. And when you look at a baby being formed in utero, you can see that all the neuronal tissue, it forms inside of the chest, and the heart is the first thing that forms, and that starts to pump and move and shift, and that's what creates the separation to where that neuronal tissue splits. The top becomes the brain, the bottom becomes the intestines. And the gray matter that we have inside of our head is very similar to the gray matter that we have inside of our intestines. And this is where we get belly brain, gut instinct, and so on and so forth. But the problem is that, well, not just with the interference that's been happening in the human genome, but like there's literally something with the language that instead of us communicating with the sensation, with the feeling that we can move in like a wave of frequency, we describe it. And as we describe it, it separates us from feeling it. And this is why children are so much more connected into the body brain than adults are, simply because, like take for instance, you're a baby, you're figuring out the world around you, you're recognizing there's things that you like, there's things that you don't like. And one of the things that you really don't like is being hungry. You don't know what hungry means, but it's a very distinctive sensation that your body experiences that you don't enjoy. And the more that you're around your parents, the more that you're around other people, and they say that word hungry, and you're like, is that what they're talking about? Like that feeling in my stomach I don't like? Is that hungry? And then you have to start thinking about it. Like, I need to tell them this because I'm hungry, because, they're shut down and they don't feel my hunger being hungry. So I have to let them know. So I've got to scream, I've got to cry, but they don't know what it is unless I start to actually recognize that word that they communicate to me. And then it's like, okay, I feel the feeling. what was that thing that they called it? Hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And so, like, the more that you start to actually turn the sensation into an actual sonic movement through the air, the more you're describing what you're experiencing instead of actually transmitting the sensation itself. And this is what shuts people down from being able to, like, truly experience the full body brain. And by communicating on this surface level, by describing all of these sensations, we're not experiencing them. And it creates this separation to eventually we don't feel, we just think. And that right there is one of the biggest problems that we have. And the human body is absolutely capable of transmitting every sensation that you can experience. The human body is capable of creating a bioelectric field around it that can feel every sensation being experienced in that bioelectric field. And we call these things, psychic abilities, but they're not. They're truly natural human abilities that are what we are supposed to be experiencing. And this is one of the reasons why there's so much separation on the planet, and how we can look at something outside of us and say that's not us because we don't feel the way that we used to. Like, if I go and I hurt somebody, I'm not going to feel their pain being felt, which it's not going to technically hurt me, but I'm still going to experience their pain because they're experiencing pain and they're in my bioelectric field. And this is the big separation that has caused so many problems on this planet. And this is what we're, engaged in recognizing how to reverse engineer. And, like, I have to speak these words because this is how we communicate. But what I do is when I speak these words, it's about how to feel. I'm showing you where to put your attention and to literally tune into your own physical sensation. And the more that you can tune into that physical sensation, the more you can spark the bioelectric field that then creates the movement, that creates the understanding that you can literally link into the universe and tap into the galactic wide web and download information. So,
and you teach the technique to do this, right?
all kinds of different techniques.
In the last 24 hours, you're the third person that has talked about how important it is for us to get out of this mind that has a tendency to spin off and to bring our consciousness down into the heart. So this is a really strong message coming into sensitive people from higher consciousness right now.
Absolutely.
So I think that what you're teaching is just so timely. And can you give us some examples of people that have learned your technique and what it's done for them?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so when we get into the nuts and bolts of it, when you activate vital life force inside of the body, there is literally neurological energy, bioelectricity that is flooding the nerves, and then it activates the iron and the water in your blood. This creates a tingling sense of movement inside of you. And this tingling sense of movement, once you activate it, you can start to almost create like this cloud of your consciousness around your body. You can move it through your body, you can do all kinds of things with it, but it creates this cloud of consciousness that when it's strong enough, it's around you. It's your auric field that you're deeply connected to. It's no longer just this abstract thing. And this is what you can pierce time and space with. You can literally point it in a direction and move over there and move your bioelectric field around whatever it is, whether this is a point in time that you're trying to go back and look at, if this is information that you're trying to understand, or if this is a person that you're actively doing energy work on or with. There's a multifold advantage to this, the least of which is that you can start experiencing outside of your own physical space. You can start experiencing outside into astral realms, higher dimensional spaces. But more importantly, you can literally move blood around inside of your body, find places that are blocked up, stagnant, rotten, stuck on the lymphatic, pulmonary systems, musculoskeletal systems, and you can rejuvenate them. You can truly create a stem cell rich field of blood that you can move directly into a space that's damaged, and you can repair it. This is one of the biggest benefits of doing this, and it's literally just a byproduct of simply moving energy inside of your body. When you do it with intention, when you start to tune into your own DNA field and see what your DNA looks like, brand new, healthy, and strong, you can go to any damaged place inside of your body. You can find what it's supposed to be, and you can bring what could be into what is and hold it there until your body's like, oh, That's what you want. And then it starts to actively create the rebuilding process, the healing process that's guided and effective inside of you. And that's just one of the levels. I mean, I could go on about it for hours about how many benefits are possible inside of doing these types of things. But like just the basics, like you can live a lot longer, you can live in a healthy body a lot longer, you can shape your body to make it feel how your consciousness thinks it should look and not how reality is telling it to.
Well, I totally agree. I think that you've really tapped into a unique way of doing it. In general, I've called it quantum work, and that's what I do in my own way. And I was really interested, and I think I'm going to refer a client of mine. She just found out she had some severe cardiovascular plaque. And I think that what you're doing would probably be a technique that could help her tremendously. Do you
Absolutely.
do you actually do sessions on people to do work for them?
So, well, I used to do the work for them strictly just because I didn't know how to teach people how to do it. But what I ended up running into is that I would do a session on somebody and they would feel absolutely amazing for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then the energy would start to run out. And it was like I charged their battery and then the charge started to go down until it was back to where they were. And so it almost felt like I was like an etheric drug dealer, and I just didn't like it. And so what I do more than anything is if it's too hard for them to do it, I will absolutely do it. But more than anything, I show them how to do it for themselves. And then we do the work together. And not only do I find that is much more powerful, because whenever you do healing work on yourself, it's always much more powerful than somebody else doing it for you. And I can show you where to put your attention, where to move the chi, where to, the specific frequencies that your body is asking for. And instead of you having to, just kind of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, we can do very pinpointed, powerful work. And then I can add to what you're doing. And so it makes your work a lot more powerful. And I find this is hands down the best way to do it, because I really don't feel like I should be, because it almost felt like I was gatekeeping these abilities, and they're not even like my special magic abilities. Like, I mean, I'm very good at what I do because I'm experienced, but the difference between me and everybody else is just that, is experience. That's it. Everybody can do it.
And it's just a matter that you came in and lived certain experiences so that you could turn around and teach and be,
Yes.
and this is your service.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for you in that. Wonderful. I hope people do check you out on your website and start learning these things, because for the collective consciousness, not just individually, but for all of us, it lifts us up.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is we literally came here to shine light into this dark place because it's quarantined. It's separated from everything else. And the only way to get in here is to incarnate into this space. And you can make us forget, you can make us be a brand new little baby that has to learn all the things again, but you can't make us forget. We are who we are. And sometimes we'll live an entire lifetime that, we know who we are, but we don't engage with it. Other times we find it and we spark it. And that's all we're doing, is simply lifting the collective consciousness in a higher vibrational frequency. And the more that you do that, the more the ambient temperature around you, I guess you could call it, is conducive for you to figuring it out for yourself. And so this is what sparks people online, without them really even recognizing it. It's like they're going about and living their lives, and all of a sudden they come into contact with a certain bit of information or a specific frequency, and then it's just boom. It's like a rocket ship and they can't help it.
They suddenly have opened up a packet of information in themselves that suddenly they're able to access.
Absolutely.
You had really gone into your personal story about having an encounter with a white reptilian. And the end result was just an amazing, you just had a revelation. Which was so important, I thought. And I would love to have you talk about that if you could.
Yeah, like start from the very beginning and bring it all the way through to the revelation.
Yes. If you're comfortable with that? Yes.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Okay, so it was February 14th, 2014. That was the night that I had my major breakthrough. Long story short, I had been walking meditations and energy work and kundalini yoga and like just pushing against reality in a way that I knew there was something there. I knew that there was something more. I just didn't know what it was, and I was blindly searching in the dark for it, doing everything I could to find it. And the more energy that I was able to create inside of my body, the higher frequency, like my thoughts were able to access. And I started communicating with something on the other side, which I know what it is now. But at the time, it was, I had no idea. It was just like I can't say I was hearing words. It was more along the lines of like, there was very specific sets of information and sensation and emotion that if we didn't speak the English language, we would be very familiar with this language. It's instantaneous transmission of very specific ways of being. It guided me through the only way I know how to describe it is something called chakra removal. And it's where you take the physicality of your chakra centers, like you're not taking out the glands. You're changing the frequency of them, because the whole premise behind it is if you're looking at the entire electromagnetic spectrum, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet spectrum that we see inside of is a tiny percentage. It's like 0.0001% of the entire electromagnetic field. And so my whole thing was, well, why am I using these colors? Why am I limiting myself to being inside of this space in order to do work? And so I was trying to expand outside of it. I went through, there was 4 specific phases. There was malleability, there was crystallization, there was transformation, and then there was the actual activation. And it took me about 3.5, 4 months of like really, hardcore. Every single day I was building up to this point. And then the night of February 14th, 2014, the only way I know how to describe what happened is I was laying in my bed and I activated every single energy center in the body: root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, with their own individual colors. And I blasted everything from like the red turned everything red, blue, orange turned everything orange, yellow turned everything yellow, and so on and so forth, until I was very just malleable inside of this space, and I could turn any energy center in my body to whatever color I wanted it to be. And then I went hard into the paint. I made the red as it possibly could be, the orange as it possibly could be, and I felt like I was literally just these colors that were floating. And I laid myself on the sun. And the only way I know how to describe what happened is if I took a balloon and I pulled a piece of it and I twisted it, and it's like a little separated piece of the balloon. It's part of the whole, but like the air inside of there is separate from the rest of it. It was like that untwisted. And I felt it in the back of my heart space, and all of my color drained into the sun. And then the sun exploded inside of me, and my heart space got so big and so hot and so powerful. Like I couldn't push my hands into the field. I was getting magnetically repulsed, and I was trying to get away from it because it was burning my chin. Like my chin was literally, the next day it looked like it was all sunburnt underneath it. What ended up happening was the light that flooded through my body, it clicked something inside of my head. And I felt my own internal voice start to slide backwards inside of my head. And as it slid backwards, it stopped being my voice, and it got crazier and more distorted and more demonic until it was all the way back here at this gallbladder point at the back of the skull. And right there, it felt like somebody was trying to bang like a red hot poker into the back of my head. It was just incredibly excruciating. And I'm sitting here with all of this light exploding through me with this one very obviously uncomfortable thing. And it dawned on me, like there's something inside my head, and that's not me. As soon as I thought that, that's when I recognized there actually is a consciousness that's not me inside of my head. And it tried to give me a stroke. It tried to break these blood vessels in the base of my brain right there. And I ended up like grabbing a hold of this thing and like pulling it out of my head. And it took me like 3 hours that night. At the end of it, like I gotten rid of this black thing that was stuck inside of my head. Like I felt other black places inside of me, and I pulled them out too. And they were way easier than that one. But still, it took like another 45 minutes. And there it is, like 3 a.m. And I'm exhausted. But at the same time, I feel better than I ever have in my life. I feel like I'm capitulating to gravity just because I have to. And it felt like all I had to do was just like lift, and I'd start doing this type of a thing. no pain. My mind was completely silent. And I felt better than I ever had in my life. And yet at the same time, I was like, I literally just had voices screaming inside of my head, like, I'm crazy. I need to go to the nut house. There's something wrong here. But I felt so good. And I couldn't deny that, like, well, I might think I'm crazy, but oh my goodness, this is the best I've ever felt in my life. And so I finally get to sleep. I wake up the next day and I had to go to school. We were doing presentations at my massage school. I remember just very distinctively, like, I'm crazy, like there's craziness going on. And so I went to school early and I got into the break room and I was just sitting there for about 30 minutes before school was starting. And I'm sitting there recognizing, like, my bubble the night before, it was like a good 50 feet surrounding me. And I could feel everything inside of it. Like, I couldn't see it with my eyes, but I could feel everything so clearly that, like, I could feel the nails in the hardwood floor. I could feel the bugs in the dirt underneath. I could feel the electricity moving through the conduits in the walls. I could feel the water in the pipe, everything. It was just so much. And my bubble wasn't as big. It was still a good 15 feet around me, but I could feel everything inside of it. And I was feeling people walking through it and I wouldn't have to look at them. I was, like, looking down at this table, just like, oh my God, what is happening here? And I could feel people moving through it. And then it was the craziest thing. It was like all of a sudden there was this heaviness, just, and I turn and I look, and one of my classmates had just walked through the door right there, and I could immediately tell there was something seriously wrong with her. And I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And she looks at me and she goes, yeah, no. I was like, do you need a hug? And she's like, no. Yeah. And I just went over there and I just gave her the biggest hug that I could. And I just remember just loving so much and feeling this light inside of me just expanding into her. And then it hit this dark spot inside of her chest. And suddenly I'm seeing her and her boyfriend, like, from her perspective, like her memory, I'm seeing her and her boyfriend screaming at each other. And, like, the whole thing was that she had, like, she realized she was pregnant and he wanted her to get an abortion. She wanted to keep it. And they had broken up, like, literally minutes before she left to come to school that day. And all of a sudden that dark thing in her chest jumped into me, and, like, this brightness, this cleanness, this amazingness that I felt. And the next thing you know, I can't, like, my chest is tight and I'm like, oh God, what is happening? And she, I'll never forget her face. Like, she gets out of this hug and she says, it's the best hug I've ever had. I feel so good, Eric. Oh my goodness, what did you do? And I was like, no problem. Like, and, like, the night before, I was literally like, like, pulling this thing out of my head. And I'm recognizing there's one of these dark things inside of me. And I didn't want to, just like in front of everybody. So I go into the classroom about 10 minutes before class is about to start. And I'm just sitting in the corner, like, breathing into it, trying to light it up, trying to get everything to clear out. And, like, I didn't get it before, like, class started. So class started and I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what was that? What was last night? What is happening here? And I didn't pay attention to hardly anything until, like, I hear my name being called. I was like, huh? And they're like, yeah, it's your turn, Eric. And I was like, my turn for what? And they're like, your presentation. I was like, oh crap. Oh God, all right. So, and I go up there and I remember just, like, all of these things that are happening. And I'm just, like, so stuck on this. And I remember everybody looking at me like, yeah, we're waiting, and I lit myself up and I did my presentation, and it was one of the best speeches I've ever given in my life. And it felt like it was just flowing through me, and it was effortless. And as I was doing that, I'm feeling the space in my chest, like, dissolving. I get done with this presentation and, like, there's still a little bit in there. And I waited until I got home and pulled the rest of it out. Like, I'm like, what is happening here? And so I started to investigate it. And in particular, I went to places where I knew that there was, like, uncomfortable emotions. The casino is the easiest one to find. And so I'd go to the casino and I'd sit at, like, a penny machine and I'd bet the minimum bet and just sit there and, like, look around, like, physically and energetically. And I could see these dark things that were literally, like, speaking inside of people's ears, and, like, these heavy sensations inside of them that were feeling like they were trying to pull them down into the dirt. And just all of these things that I was like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And I said, well, maybe I can pull these out of people like I did for myself. And so there was another girl at my massage college who she was having this horrible headache. And as she's talking about this headache, I'm seeing like this darkness like leaking out of her eye, and it goes back through her head into the back of the skull. And I was like, that's the same thing that I pulled out of myself. And I asked her, I was like, hey, so I'm learning how to do this different type of an energy work. Do you mind if I do it on you? And she's like, yeah, no problem. And I reached in and grabbed it right there and I pulled it out and she felt it move all the way from her spine, all the way up through her head. And then it popped loose. And she's like, oh my God, my headache is gone. What did you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out. But I've been seeing like these black things in people. And I've been pulling them out. That's how it started. And then I lost the plot because I'm like, obviously the demons are attacking humanity. And like, we got to fight. And so I did. And for the next 2.5 years, I was blowing things up. I was hacking and slashing with swords made out of light. And I was literally killing things. Just because it was warfare didn't make it not effective. I was making a big, big splash on their side, and they were freaking out about what I was doing. I would find the breeding pits, like the nexuses where the ley lines on the planet polarity had been flipped. And so it was a very negative polarity, and they were breeding what I call etheric implants inside of those things. And then they would take these things out, and you would have a consciousness, an entity that was attached to a person that was feeding off of their pain, their suffering, their trauma, and it would put these things inside of there, but it would program it first, and it would be designed specifically to make it think looping thoughts that are designed to look towards trauma, or stuff like that, or things that would keep the trauma gateway open so that it would always be sitting there bubbling, but it would never flush out. You would never be able to clear it. And I went to war, and I wrecked a lot of what they were doing. This is when I started seeing all kinds of stuff following me in the sky. This is when I had like timeline hops and going back in time and all kinds of craziness that was going on. My problem was that I wasn't sleeping for like 3-4 days at a time until I was exhausted, because like every time I would go to sleep, I would get reinfested and I would have to, wake up and do like 6-7 hours of energy work just to get back onto what I felt was track. It all culminated. It was like 2017, 2018. I remember very distinctively, like I did not feel good. Like it was maybe like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and I just did not feel good at all. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to bed. We're going to reset. Tomorrow will be a brand new day. It'll be all right. And so I put the kids to bed, and I went to sleep like 8:39, which, I mean, I'm a night owl. I stay awake till like 12:31 every night anyway. Like it was just really out of ordinary for me, but I couldn't go to sleep. And I'm just sitting there behind my closed eyelids until like 12:30, maybe 1. And I was wide awake and I just did not feel good. And so I get up and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to watch something. And so I'm scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to watch. And as I'm sitting on my bed, I've got my feet hanging off the bed and I'm looking, and all of a sudden to my left, there was this full body puff of air. Now, I don't have a fan in my room. The window is closed and every hair on my body stood up on end. And I was just like, what was that? And I looked out of the corner of my eye and I could see like this white thing. And I turned and I looked and I made eye contact with this giant white reptile face that was looking right at me. And this thing, if you were to have a white dinosaur, like a really big one, 20 feet tall, that was hybridized to be a humanoid, that's exactly what that looked like. And its eye, it was the most interesting. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. It was this black that had this golden rainbow striation overlaid across it. And then there was the reptilian pupil inside of it. And I made eye contact with it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to pretend I didn't see this. I'm going to light this up and I'm going to like, let's go, let's do this. Cause I mean, I hadn't ever seen anything physically up until that point in time. Like I'd seen stuff in the sky, but I'd never actually seen anything physically in my presence. It had always been etheric in nature. It was always something that didn't have physicality, but it was like a concentrated etheric form. Yeah. So I used to do this thing I called a supernova, where I would build up a massive amount of light and then I would compress it into a tiny, tiny little space that was smaller than an atom. And as soon as I released that pressure, it would explode out like a sun going supernova. And I mean, just completely and totally decimate the surrounding 3-4 miles. And so I built up the supernova inside of me, and then I let it out, boom, and I felt it go and run into a wall and then suddenly get smushed back. And I was just like, well, that's not good. Like, you're always strong enough, Eric. You can always do this. Let's do it. Let's go. And I built it up and boom, smush, boom, smush, smush. Now, each one of these smushes, it literally compressed my consciousness inside of my body. So the first one, I couldn't feel like the surrounding half-inch of skin and muscle on the outside of my body. And with each progressive smush, it smushed me further and further and further in until I literally felt like I was inside of a ball, like a Vitruvian man trying to keep it from smushing me anymore. And I was only about this big and I was inside of my heart space. And with each progressive smush that made me leave the physical more and more and more, I didn't have my physical senses. I could tell I was in my body, but that was only because I could feel my heart racing behind me and like my lungs like hyperventilating around me, but I didn't have control of any of it. And the more I lost touch with physicality, the more my spiritual senses were wide open. And I realized this thing right there was the center of this portal that had then not shown me, but like pulled me half in, half out of this space where it was like an entire universe where these things had like eaten the universe. It was like the heat death of the universe. And there was nothing in there except me and this thing. And I was surrounded by them, like billions of trillions of these nasty, demonic, terrifying looking figures. And every single one of these smushes, it was almost like they were all like intermeshed with each other. And they were all like grabbing a hold of each other and compressing in. And it was creating a massive, like a universe beating heart. It was like this wave of energy that would come and smush into me. And that was what was doing it. And the more I was disconnected, the more I was able to see this. And then here I am, this little tiny ball inside of my heart space. And I'm feeling so weak. And I see this next one, and it's this giant wave that's coming at me. And then it blasted me completely out of my body. Now I'm free of my body. I'm not in touch with anything. I'm like, oh my God, they beat me. I'm dead. It's over. And then they did another pulse and it was this wave that came at me, and it was just coming from the outer edges of the universe right towards me. And I just like, oh God. Oh God. Because like they were still coming at me, but they were going right through me. Like I couldn't see, or like they couldn't see me. Like, and that I wasn't feeling anything. Like I didn't feel any physicality, any type of sensation from them. It was like I didn't exist inside of their reality, but I could see them. So I'm like, okay, well, oh goodness, like that was terrifying. I'm okay. And I was scared, but not having adrenaline, not having adrenals to like, continually reinforce the fear, it gone almost immediately. The next thing you know, I'm floating inside of this incredibly demonic universe, but I feel perfectly safe. I'm like, they can't see me. I'm okay. What is going on here? And so I'm looking around and like, there's nothing. Like they'd literally eaten everything of interest, everything. It was just nothing but like this vacuum, nothing but this void, but they're moving through me. And so I'm trying to figure out like, well, where are they going? And so I turn around and I look, and in the very center of this universe is a black hole. And if they're big on the outside, they got smaller and smaller and smaller until they hit the center, and then they fell through it, and then they were gone. They were out of the universe. I just didn't understand what was going on. So I go over to this black hole and I put my hands on it, and it tries to suck me in. I was like, nope, 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 nope. I don't know what's over there. I don't know what's going on. No, I'm not going in there. And so I start, dinking around, like trying to find something of interest in this place. And I'm like, okay, well, there's literally nothing here. That's the only thing that's of interest. That's the only thing here. And I'm not going to spend the entire afterlife just sitting inside of this dead universe. Like, I'm not doing this. So we got to figure this out. Oh, and one other thing, I'd never really gotten a good look at any of these things. They always seemed like these shadow shrouded beings, and like that was completely gone. I could see them so clearly, and they were distorted and demonic and terrifying looking, but they had a quality to them that was just, I'd never seen that before. They were starving. Like, if I could take you and lock you in a room for a year without you dying with no food, that won't even come close to how hungry these beings were. There was this desperation to them that, the more I was looking at it, the more sad I was getting about it, because it was like, wow, this is a horrifying existence. Like, that's what's driving them. If I was that hungry, I'd be doing the exact same thing. Like, holy crap. And so I go to this black hole and I put my hands on it, and it's trying to pull me in and I'm resisting. And I very distinctively remember the sensation of stopping the resistance. It was like I let go, I surrendered, and it pulled me right in and then back in my body. And I'm here, like right in my liver area. And immediately I'm just recognizing there's some of the grossest, most disgusting energy I've ever felt in my life right there. And these things were feasting on it. And if I had the ability to throw up, I would have been just like dry heaving, because it was so nasty. It was like watching people gleefully eat raw sewage. Like, it was horrendously nasty. And I'm hopeless. Like, up until that point in time, I'd been making, bright lights and pretty colors, and it was helping people, yes, but that was real darkness. That was real darkness, and that was inside of me, and I didn't know how to take care of it. I didn't know what to do. I had no clue how to even go about rectifying this whole situation. I'm like, great, I'm back in my body, but what do I do? Like, I've been making pretty colors. Like, I don't know how to take care of darkness. I thought I did, but that's true darkness right there. and, and I'll never forget it. It was like the sun came out from behind me, and I turn around and I look, like right in my heart space, it's shining. And and it felt good. See, that was the thing. It wasn't just the light that I had been creating. I'd been making incredibly bright, intense sunlight, and I'd been using that to find things that were dark. This felt so good. And I immediately just, oh, thank God. And I went up to it the same way I did that black hole, which, by the way, that darkness that I felt inside of me, I had to figure that out. And I was like, what is this? And so I go over there and I put my hands on it, and I'm flashing back to being me being molested as a kid, seeing how those events had moved through into my life, into just multiple levels. My promiscuity, my inability to like connect with people, my inability to make meaningful relationships, to make friendships, it all had stemmed from that moment. And I didn't think those moments had messed me up. I really thought that, I had dealt with it, and like I was getting a very clear, open view that no, I did not. So I turn around, I go to my heart space, the same thing, put my hands on it. And all of a sudden, I'm flashing back to my best friend at the time when I was like 14, 15. Her name was Amanda. She had a birthday party going on at her house. And I don't remember whose birthday party it was. It was either for somebody else or for her. There was like 25 of us that were there, and we were all watching some stupid Adam Sandler movie. And my buddy Jeremy, he had this really, really funny laugh. And he would start laughing so hard, he'd like not be able to breathe. And he'd just be like, he laughed. The person next to him laughed at how he laughed, which made him laugh even more. And it just feedback looped to where this laughter just spread. And the next thing you know, like we are on the ground cry laughing for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like my
Wow.
abs hurt so bad the next day. My face hurt so bad the next day from laughing. But it was like the funniest thing. And we couldn't figure out what was so funny. Like, and that's what was so funny about it, because we'd all like, it would finally like start calming down a little bit. And then it was like, what is even so funny? And we just, I don't know. And it was hilarious. That was one of the most important moments of my life. And I didn't realize it because it showed me. It was literally ingrained into my soul with how funny it was. And that laughter, that is what was making the light feel so good. And so like this little vision ends. I'm like, well, can I know how to make light? Can I make it feel like that? And that was the first time I breathed in the radiant smile, like truly made my chi feel like humor, feel like joy, feel like laughter. And then all of a sudden, I'm not just in my body and separate from it. I'm in my body. This is mine. And I was only about like maybe this big, and it was all right here in my stomach. And I started to move that laughter inside of that trauma, inside my liver area. And I loved on it, and I laughed, and I lit it up until all of a sudden it disappeared. Now, up until this point in time, we had millions of these beings, these demonic parasite entities that were feasting on this. And as soon as it disappeared, like it was like, I'll never forget it. It was like, they're like, where'd it go? It was just here. Oh, hungry. And then they looked for the next one. And they went to the next one. And I went to each one of these and put my hands on them and saw like the memories and everything. And I don't remember any of those except for the first one. But I would literally follow them through my entire body. And they would show me where my darkness was, where my trauma was, where my dense energy was. And I would put the feeling of brilliantly loving, laughing light inside of it, and it would heal it. And all of a sudden it was gone. And then they went on to the next one. And I followed them around until all of it was completely and totally gone. And they're literally trying to grab a hold of me, but they can't touch me. Like I'm safe, perfectly safe. There's no density inside my body that these hard, dense things can touch. That was when I was looking at them. I was like, this is the saddest existence I've ever seen. Can I make them feel what I'm feeling right now? And I grabbed one and I pushed into its consciousness center, and I felt it light up and start laughing, and it exploded into light. Now, up until this point in time, I had been overloading these beings with light and killing them. I had been literally exploding them into like particulate. And for the very first time, I actually felt one transmute into a being made out of light. But more importantly, it was a being made out of light that understood the darkness. Because if I have a light right here and I put my hand in the way, it's going to cast the shadow. Something born inside that shadow, it doesn't understand the light. There's something in the way. It can see the effects of the light around that shadow, and it recognizes that it's the antithesis. If it goes into the light, it's not going to exist anymore. And so they've been fighting this entire time to not die, literally not die. And for us to die, we know that we're eternal. The soul goes on. But for them, they feel like they're going to poof out of existence forever. And it's done. It's like a true death. And it's terrifying. And they're hungry. And they're starving. And they have no knowledge of any emotion from numbness up into unconditional love. They're from numbness all the way down into unconditional fear. And that's the only spectrum that they know how to access. And for the very first time, I watched a being of darkness move into the light. And that was when, like, I've been doing this all wrong. I thought we were here to save the people who were stuck inside of this system. Like, no, that's only like a side effect of what we're doing. We're here to get everything that's separate from source back in, to show it the full spectrum of love, of light, of emotion that is possible, that creates energy instead of takes energy. And suddenly here I am, this vampire hunter who recognized I've been killing things that have the saddest existence, the saddest existence. As soon as I did that, like all of them were like, oh God, and they took off running. And so like I corralled everything. I made this massive light bubble that created this like a trap. They couldn't get through it. And I did it to every single one of these beings that were literally trying to feast on me and take me over and kill me. That was the most important realization out of this entire journey that I've gone through. And that's what showed me that this energy, this life force, this light that we can create, you can flavor it with any emotion, you can flavor it with any frequency, you can literally do whatever you want with it. You just have to know what it feels like. And if you don't know what it feels like, all you have to do is pretend like you do and breathe it in and see how it affects your body. And your body will literally show you the spaces that are blocked that are keeping you from feeling it. And then you can go in, clean that out. And the next thing you know, you're experiencing these positive emotions that you didn't know that you could feel. And like, I always thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was like a sociopath, you know, like I didn't feel anything. I was very smart, very intelligent, but I didn't feel anything, which was wrong. I felt negative emotions very, very clearly. And that was the first real breaking down into softness, into being able to experience positive emotion inside of my life. that right there was the most important moment that of epiphany that I've ever had. Just by being able to show people how to do this, like even if I were to die right now and leave this mortal coil, like my goal, my reason for being here, it's in the collective now. I've showed people how to do it, and that's what's important. Now, I'm not done. I'm planning on being in this body for a couple hundred years at the very minimum, because there's stuff to do. Like we've got a lot of work to do, but this is the major forefront. And this is why I teach the foundations, because the foundations are multifold. This is how you activate your mind, your body, and your spirit into one space, one coherent field that you can then move through mind, body, and spirit and work on those levels. And it's instantaneous instead of having to let it integrate or blah, blah, do all the slow things. But I recognize that my personal concept, my reason for being, I am a foundation. Like my power is designed specifically to give people a place to where they can experience this for themselves and then grow beyond. And I can't wait to see it happen, honestly.
Yes. A couple of questions, these dark beings. Could you identify them? You said the white one was a white reptilian.
So there was nothing that ever looked the same. It was almost like, you know, how trauma never looks the same, even if it comes from the same place for different people.
Mhm.
It's almost like they were manifestations of trauma.
Oh, okay.
And so like there's no way to like fully describe them. Like they were distorted, demonic, chaotic looking. You know, it was like broken bones that had set incorrectly, claws, teeth, like horror, like terrifying looking things. So there was no real way to identify like an individual. It was like I could only identify them by what they felt inside of their heart. And that was, I need to feed. I'm going to die and I'm terrified of dying and I'm starving. And the only way to keep me from dying is by eating. And if you are what I'm going to eat, I don't care about you.
Do you think that these were creations from human traumas down through the ages?
Very well could be. You know, like I said, the space that I was in, it was like an entire universe that they had eaten. So I don't know if that's where they came from, because like these higher dimensional negatively oriented beings, they use these things. It's not like they're in some type of a cohort where they're all like trying to get a specific goal. Like they use these things. They'll stick them inside of somebody's field and let them siphon energy out and literally be siphoning the lion's share out of the being that is doing it to the person. Everybody's in it for themselves. Like they don't want to share any of it because it's not even like currency to them. It is power, it is life, it is the ability for them not to die. And the more of it they have, the stronger that they are. And so they're not trying to share any of it. So anything that's not on that higher level, it's just as much of a victim as we are.
Now, when you transmuted the dark beings into beings of light, what happened with them after that?
So light can't hold on to light. And it was like I had this big bubble that these dark things couldn't get through. And as soon as they exploded into light, it was like they were out. Like they recognized the big spectrum that they had no knowledge of, and they immediately left for I don't know, healing.
Ooh, boy, that's
connection.
a happy story, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you do that now? When you go in to do an entity removal, it's actually an entity transmutation.
Exactly.
Oh, that
Exactly.
brings tears to my eyes. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I mean, it's a terrifying existence. It's like the saddest thing I've ever seen, like truly the saddest thing I've ever seen. And what is really, really horrendous about it is if you existed in that space, you'd be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. Wow. Whew. That is quite the wonderful story. I love it with a
It was
happy
a wild
ending.
ride. It was a wild ride.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know how we can even top that. Is there anything else that you would like to leave us with? Perhaps what you've got coming up, anything new with you?
Oh yeah, definitely. So we actually just opened up the community about a month and a half ago. So the community, you have to go through a foundations course to even be a part of it. And the foundations are what teaches you the mind, body, spirit activation so that you can create these fields in your body. And then what we do with them is we make a collective container. And inside of this container, everybody in the group, whether they're doing it live with us or they're doing it whenever they can, because we've got people around the world and some just can't, it's like 2 a.m. for them. It creates such a vast potential for yourself and more importantly for the world. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we put ourselves inside of this container, we let ourselves get cleaned out, we do cleansing the temple, activating to a higher level of frequency, but then we turn it back around onto the world. The way that the world has been going in the past couple of years, since about like 2017, 2018, it's not what humans want. It's not the direction that we want to go. The problem is that the collective consciousness has been hijacked. And so the human currency, the human attention is the most valuable currency inside of the entire universe. And that's why there's so much time, money, and effort spent on hijacking that attention, because it then guides us as a collective into the timelines that these beings, that these people who are working with these beings want us to go into. These are the Armageddon timelines. These are the chaos timelines. And we can have heaven here on earth, like truly have heaven here on earth, if we take our collective consciousness back and point it in the direction that organic evolution, that natural evolution is designed to go. And the only way that we can not consent to this is by actively getting into the fields where these energies are created and then guiding them to what we feel is correct. And that's all. It's all love. We have to actively tap into love for everybody on this entire planet, regardless of whether or not there's chaos and crazy people out there who have done horrible, horrible things. Like that's not the goal, is to bring retribution. Retribution, justice, all of these things, they naturally unfold inside of positive timelines anyway. And our job is to connect into these timelines. And as a group, we are so much stronger than we are individually. And like me personally, I'm very, very strong on these levels and I can do some really, really cool stuff. But I feel like a little baby, like when we have the whole group connected and doing one specific thing, I can't come close to that, you know? And a lot of these people have nowhere near as much as experience as I do. That's just how powerful we are, you know? And it's not a 10 plus 10 type of a thing. It's a 10 times 10. It's multiplicative. And the more people that we have in one place and one time with their own life force activated, guided towards a very specific timeline, a very specific place, the more powerful this outcome becomes. Like we have to step up and tell the unconscious that, hey, we are conscious and this is where we're going.
And co-create it together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have been shown and I got to feel what this heaven on earth, what it's going to look like. It's real. It's there. So I will be joining. I'm going to take your foundations class and join the group. Excellent. Because I definitely want to participate in co-creating this timeline, this future that I've seen for humanity.
Can't wait to see you there.
Yeah. Thank you again. I love you. I'm so glad you're on the planet doing what you're doing.
Love you too, April. Thank you so much for having me. This is a blast. I love these.
Oh, good. Okay. We will talk soon. And thank you again. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.